Today, we are going to talk about some little things that can make a big difference in your health. So stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we are going to talk about probiotics, some tiny organisms that truly are the cornerstone of vibrant health. In understanding how probiotics can play a role in recovering our health, I want to first talk about something called the 4 R's. And if you work with a naturopath or functional medicine doctor, they use this framework to help anyone heal from pretty much any type of condition, chronic inflammation, or disease. The 4 R's are remove, repair, rebuild, and then reintroduce. Now, remove, the first step, is often the hardest because what we need to do there is to remove anything that is impacting our health. See, our body has this amazing ability to heal and repair itself and to work optimally if we just stay out of its way. Now, often we are unintentionally or unknowingly overburdening our body with unhealthy food choices, lifestyle choices that may include lack of movement or exercise, toxins in our cleaning products, in the air we breathe, in the furniture and things in our house that we come into regular contact with. And while 1 or 2 of these things may not make a big deal, as our body has amazing systems for dealing with these things, when we take into account all of the little pieces of things that we are doing or not doing to our bodies, the accumulation often can become too much. And that is where sickness, illness, chronic inflammation, and chronic disease, such as autoimmune disease, come into play. Many of us who have developed a disease had no idea where it came from, and we're always told, well, there's this genetic component, so you were genetically predisposed or have a genetic weakness for this disease. But I'm here to tell you some good news about that. The reality is every person has some sort of genetic weakness, but that does not determine our fate. So you can get a genetic testing done that tells you, yes, you have this gene for this disease or that disease. However, whether or not our body turns on that gene is very much determined by our environment and our exposures, which means we have a huge role to play in whether or not that happens. Now, if you already have an autoimmune disease like I do, that means you've already turned on that gene. Great. The good news is, while we may not fully be able to turn the signal off just yet, we can turn the volume way, way down. And that is where the remove comes in. So removing things that are amping up our autoimmune disease is the first step to truly healing our body. Now, I've talked in the past about gluten. Even if you're not celiac, it is very much a pro-inflammatory food. Processed sugars, which are in almost everything, turn on inflammation and are overburdening our bodies and their abilities to function optimally. Milk and dairy products often have the same, whether it's the casein, the protein, or the lactose sugars in the milk, both can be inflammatory to your body. And certainly when you are beginning your journey to heal and repair, it is a good move to eliminate these things. And again, this doesn't mean that you're eliminating them forever. It just means we are starting with eliminating these things to allow our body to do what it does best, which is repair and heal from all of the taxation that's been happening to it unknowingly by us. And of course, removing any toxins that you are aware of, reducing the cleaning products you use, using products with less ingredients in them, ingredients that you understand, looking for certain ones that you want to remove so that you are not overburdening your body. The next step is repair. And really, repair can happen on its own. Once we have removed these things, we just need to give our body a little bit of time to start to actually heal and repair itself. When it's not busy tackling all of these objects, inflammatory objects coming into our body on a regular basis, it can actually optimize its processes to go out and find and heal any areas that are damaged, diseased, not working optimally. The third step, which is the one we actually really are going to focus on today, is the rebuild. So now that we have removed things that are overburdening and overtaxing our body, we've allowed it time to repair, now we are going to rebuild. And the biggest piece we know for our immune system to rebuild is our gut microbiome. Study after study after study has shown that people with autoimmune diseases have far less microbial diversity, meaning different species of microbes living in their gut, than healthy subjects that do not have any disease. What that tells us is through whatever process, be it diet, lifestyle, stress, antibiotics taken frequently, especially when we were younger, there are many things that could have happened to reduce the diversity of the colonies living in our gut. But when certain colonies die off, it's much like the earth or the rainforest. If a whole species is wiped out of the rainforest, it will forever impact the entire ecosystem. Other species will overpopulate to sort of fill in the gaps. And that is what happens in our gut. When certain species are killed off, whether we're not feeding them the foods that they need, such as fruits and veggies and fibers, then they die off, they starve to death. And then other microbes in there will fill in the gaps. And unfortunately, a lot of the microbes that grow quickly are the ones that create pro-inflammatory reactions, meaning they literally create inflammation in our body. And so we want to take back that space and rebalance the colonies living in there to create a healthier ecosystem. How do we do that? Probiotics. They are a simple and easy way to really start to rebalance what's going on in our bodies. Now, there are different ways to do this. So some people will just go out and buy a probiotic off the shelf that has a bunch of different strains and try it out, and that could be great. However, not everybody has exactly the same composition. And there are many healthy subjects, meaning people who have no disease, illness, or pain, that have different percentages of different microbes in their body. So there is no one size fits all when it comes to creating a healthy ecosystem in your bowels. But what I will tell you is there are ways to find out what's going on in there and perhaps some important key cornerstone probiotics that you may be lacking in or may have not enough of. So there are several ways to go about finding this out. All involve doing a stool test, fun, but simple. And you can do this with a functional medicine doctor or a naturopath. I personally did mine through a company called Viome. They sent me my kit, I sent it back, and I loved this company because they not only told me a breakdown of everything that I had going on in my body, but they actually looked at the ways that my microorganisms reacted with the food that I eat. And they give you this app with all of these great breakdowns of the foods that you should eat, the foods you should avoid. And then if you want to spend extra money, which I did, they will create a custom probiotic for you to take. So every month they ship me 30 little packets and I crack one open every day and put it in my smoothie. And I have to tell you, it has made such a huge difference for me with my Crohn's. While my Crohn's has been very much under control in that my disease is not progressing and I am not having symptoms every day, I've always been aware of my gut. So I'm always feeling it, whether it's little twitches or slight mild nausea here or there a couple of days a month. But once I started taking my probiotic, I honestly wasn't even aware of my stomach for the first time in a long time. I would go days, sometimes weeks, without even thinking about it, which truly is a gift. So I do recommend seeking out some support, whether it's through a naturopath, functional doctor, or through a company like Viome. There are others that do it as well in Canada and in the US, and I'm sure across the globe. But it is definitely an investment worth making, so that if you're going to spend the money to get probiotics, one, you know which ones to take, and two, they can support you in the prebiotic piece. So prebiotics, I'm sure you've heard this, maybe you haven't, but prebiotics are food for the probiotics. So it's one thing to reintroduce these strands to our body by ingesting them, but we also have to help them grow and colonize and, become part of that ecosystem in our bodies. And how we do this is ensuring that they are getting regular food. So this may mean eating foods that you normally don't eat. If you have lost a certain strand of probiotic, it makes sense that perhaps you weren't feeding it properly, unknowingly, of course. And so there may be certain foods that you're going to want to introduce to your body to help keep those probiotics that you are ingesting growing and colonizing and taking up some space and rebalancing the ecosystem in your microbiome. Now, having said that, there are a couple caveats when it comes to taking probiotics. The first is that because they are considered a supplement and not a medication, the stringency with which they are checked is perhaps a little lax, meaning that it's not always guaranteed that what it says on the bottle is what is inside. Now, I'm not saying there's something harmful inside, but if you are buying shelf-stable probiotics or even probiotics that come in their refrigerated section, there's no guarantee that there are as many as it says on the bottle. And sometimes there may be extra strains in there or not as much of one strain compared to another. So that is something to be aware when you are buying probiotics. You do want to find a trusted source, meaning a source that has been checked by a third party to show the transparency and quality of their product. But if you have used a trusted source to find out what's going on in your body's ecosystem, where you're lacking and what you can add to rebalance that, you found a trusted source of probiotics to use, and you're ensuring that they are fed prebiotics. And some probiotics often come with the prebiotic packed in. So you've got your little microorganisms and food ready to go so that once you ingest them, they can start getting to work. Having said all that, the last thing I want to talk quickly with you about today is this amazing probiotic called Akkermansia muciniphila. Now, this is a type of probiotic that is a cornerstone probiotic. So in most healthy humans, it is anywhere from 0.5% to 5% of the total ecosystem in our gut. 5% is huge for just one strand, meaning this guy plays a key role in a lot of processes in our body. And many studies are coming out more and more every day showing that people with autoimmune diseases, but even diabetes, Alzheimer's, which is now being called type 3 diabetes, and chronic inflammation, all are lacking this strand of probiotic. Now, it's just fairly recently begun to be commercially produced, and there is difficulty in mass producing it. So it is expensive and not necessarily easy to find. There's only a few places that you can find it. However, the results have been incredible in that it is a huge piece in helping with leaky gut. And as I've talked about in earlier episodes, if you have an autoimmune disease, you most likely suffer or have suffered from leaky gut, because having the cell lining of our intestines opening up and allowing larger proteins through is basically what sets our immune system off like a wildfire. And so the Akkermansia lives in the mucus, which is the lining, which is the protective coating for our intestines, our gut. And living in there, it is a key player in stopping things, proteins and such, that are not supposed to get through that lining. It stops them. It also helps to thicken that lining, which is a protective barrier, and it increases the proteins that tighten those junctions in the cell walls of our gut or our intestines so that things cannot get through. So it basically helps to heal leaky gut, improves our gut barrier, and works to help our immune system improve in an anti-inflammatory way. So it helps to reduce chronic inflammation in all kinds of ways. So I have not started taking this one yet, but it is definitely on my list. In my research, I come across sometimes hundreds of different things that are incredible and amazing and will improve health. And of course, the caveat being you don't want to do too much too quickly, because if something works, you don't know what it was, and you could end up doing 10 things when only one was really effective. And on the other side, if you're doing too many things at once and they're not working, it could be because a combination is wrong versus that each one on its own may not help. So I like to try to do things slowly. Add one thing, wait a little while, notice how I'm doing, then I can adjust or remove or add something else. So it's kind of one of those stop, start, continue, reflecting each month on what's working, what's not working, decide what you want to keep doing, what you want to stop doing, and what you're going to start doing. And so Akkermansia is on my list. It's at the top of my list as one of my next things to add as I continue on this journey towards amazing and vibrant health. So once you've rebalanced your ecosystem, your microbiome, you've given your body time to heal, this is when we get to the final and fourth R, and that is reintroduce. And much like I said with healthy habits, when you are reintroducing foods, you want to do so slowly. Now, personally, when I reintroduced foods, I reintroduced dairy, but without the lactose. So I only eat hard cheeses and things, not things that the lactose has been removed from, because often there are still traces in there that can be inflammatory, but things that have been aged or naturally fermented and removed all of the lactose. But reintroducing things we know are inflammatory, like gluten, like processed sugars, obviously the recommendation is if you want to have them, do so sparingly, do so occasionally, so that you're not overburdening your body. So now that you've allowed your body time to heal, you don't want to overwhelm it again. And now that you have the power of knowledge, you know what things are going to overburden your body. The things you've removed, if you've gained back incredible health in a short amount of time, then it's clear that those things were hampening or slowing or reversing your health. And so you don't want to just pile them all back on. So introducing them slowly, a little at a time, and for some of those things that we know that can overburden our body, to just take them from being an everyday part of your life to an occasional fun thing. That's all I've got for you today. I hope you've gotten a tidbit to improve your health. And until next time, stay healthy.